In a faraway galaxy, hidden among bright stars, lay a cold and beautiful planet called Glacia. This planet was covered in thick ice and snow. The sky was often cloudy, and snowflakes danced in the air like tiny fairies. The Glacians, the people of this planet, had skin as white as snow and hair that shimmered like ice. They were known for their gentle hearts and magical powers, able to control the frost and chill of their land. At the center of Glacia stood a tall, sparkling palace made of pure ice. The palace looked like it was carved from a giant diamond. Inside, the air was always cool and crisp. But in the deepest part of this palace, there was a dark room where a tragic story unfolded. In that room lay Princess Lyra, a stunningly beautiful alien girl, trapped in a block of ice. Her long hair flowed around her like a frozen waterfall, and her eyes sparkled like two bright stars. She wore a gown made of ice crystals that glimmered in the soft light. Lyra was loved by her people, the Glacians, who believed she would one day lead them into a bright future. But many years ago, a powerful sorcerer had cast a dark spell on her. He was jealous of her beauty and the love she received. In his anger, he froze her, hoping to keep her from ever ruling. The Glacians had searched for a way to break the curse, but no one could wake her. They believed only a true hero from another world could save her. As time passed, Lyra's name became a legend among the Glacians. They would gather around the palace, telling stories of her grace and strength. Children listened in awe as their elders spoke of the day a brave hero would come to save the princess. The stories brought hope to their hearts, but the years turned into decades, and the ice continued to grow thicker around her. Meanwhile, on Earth, a young man named Jake had always been fascinated by space. He dreamed of adventures beyond the stars, far away from the ordinary life he lived. Jake loved exploring the outdoors and often spent his weekends hiking in the woods or climbing mountains. He imagined finding hidden treasures and ancient secrets waiting to be uncovered. His room was filled with maps, books about the universe, and models of rockets. One day, while searching through an old store in his town, Jake stumbled upon a strange crystal. It was beautiful, glowing softly with shades of blue and white, just like ice. He felt an unusual energy coming from it, as if it was calling to him. The shopkeeper told him the crystal was said to have magical powers, but Jake didn't believe in such things. However, he bought it, feeling an inexplicable urge to take it home. That night, Jake had a dream unlike any he had ever experienced. In his dream, he saw a vision of the ice planet, Glacia, and the frozen princess, Lyra. He felt her sadness and longed to help her. When he woke up, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to do something important. The crystal glowed brightly on his desk, and he knew it was part of his destiny. Determined to uncover the truth, Jake spent days researching the crystal and the stories of Glacia. He found old legends about the princess and the curse that held her captive. The more he learned, the stronger his desire grew to find her. He could not ignore the feeling that he was connected to her in some way. One evening, as he gazed at the night sky, he made a decision. He would find a way to travel to Glacia and save Princess Lyra. He gathered supplies, built a makeshift rocket, and prepared for the journey of a lifetime. Jake was nervous but excited. He knew it would not be easy, but he felt a fire in his heart, pushing him forward. With the crystal in his pocket, he launched his rocket into the starry sky. The rocket soared through space, passing by colorful planets and sparkling stars. Jake felt free, filled with hope and excitement. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally spotted a shimmering blue planet in the distance. As he drew closer, he realized it was Glacia, glowing brightly against the dark void of space. Jake landed his rocket near the palace, feeling a rush of adrenaline. He stepped out into the cold air, feeling the chill bite at his skin. The beauty of the ice-covered landscape took his breath away. Snowflakes swirled around him as he made his way toward the palace, his heart pounding with anticipation. Little did he know, his adventure was just beginning. The frozen world of Glacia awaited him, and the frozen princess needed him more than ever. The brave human. As Jake stepped out of his rocket, he felt the cold air wrap around him like a thick blanket. He shivered but pushed the cold aside. His heart raced with excitement and nervousness. This was the moment he had been dreaming of, finding the frozen princess, Lyra, and breaking her curse. Jake looked around. The landscape was stunning, with mountains of ice rising high into the sky. The ground sparkled as if covered in tiny diamonds, and the sun reflected off the ice, making it glow. He felt like he had entered a magical world, one that was so different from his home on Earth. He took a deep breath and started walking toward the tall ice palace. Each step made a crunching sound as he walked on the frozen ground. The palace looked even more beautiful up close. Its towers reached toward the sky, and the walls were carved with intricate designs that shimmered in the light. Jake felt a sense of wonder wash over him. As he approached the palace, he noticed the large doors made of solid ice. They were closed tight, but Jake was determined to enter. He reached out and pushed against one of the doors. To his surprise, it swung open easily, revealing a grand hall filled with more ice sculptures. The hall was vast, with walls that sparkled like stars. Jake was amazed, but also cautious. "Lyra," he called out, his voice echoing in the empty space. "Are you here?" He walked deeper into the palace, searching for any sign of the princess. As he wandered through the icy halls, he imagined what she might look like. Would she be as beautiful as the stories described? Would she be scared or happy to see him? Jake's mind raced with thoughts as he moved forward. After a few moments, Jake entered a large room. In the center stood a massive ice block, shimmering in the soft light. He felt a pull towards it, as if it was calling to him. As he got closer, his heart skipped a beat. Inside the ice block lay Princess Lyra, just as the legends had described. Her long hair floated gracefully around her, and her gown sparkled like the night sky. Jake was captivated by her beauty. He knew he had to help her. He took out the magical crystal from his pocket, holding it tightly in his hand. "This is it," he thought. "I can break the curse." But as he prepared to touch the ice, a loud noise echoed through the hall. Jake turned quickly, heart racing. From the shadows emerged several Glacian warriors. They wore armor made of ice and had stern looks on their faces. Their eyes were cold and fierce, and they surrounded Jake. "Who dares to enter our palace?" One of the warriors shouted. "You are not welcome here, human." Jake's heart pounded. He knew he was in danger, but he also felt a surge of courage. "I am here to save Princess Lyra," he declared boldly. "I want to help her." The warriors exchanged glances, their expressions hardening. "You cannot save her," another warrior said, stepping forward. "She is our princess, and she belongs to Glacia. The curse must remain until the time is right." Jake refused to back down. "But she deserves a chance. She should not be trapped in ice forever." The warriors moved closer, ready to attack. Jake's mind raced. He remembered the stories he had read about the Glacians. They were strong, but they also valued honor and respect. He had to find a way to convince them. "Listen," Jake said, raising his hands in peace. "I am not here to harm you. I respect your customs and your princess. I believe love can break the curse. If you let me try, you may find a new beginning for Lyra and your people." The warriors paused, uncertain. Jake could see doubt in their eyes. He took a deep breath, hoping his words would reach them. "A true hero comes not just to save, but to unite worlds. Let me show you that our love can bring light to Glacia." After a long silence, the leader of the warriors stepped back, still wary but intrigued. "If you truly believe this, you may try," he said. "But know this, if you fail, you will face the consequences." Jake nodded, grateful for the chance. With the warriors watching closely, he stepped closer to the ice block. The air was thick with tension as he raised the crystal. He focused on Lyra, imagining her warm smile and the hope she represented. As he touched the ice with the crystal, a soft glow began to spread. The warriors watched in silence, their expressions a mix of fear and curiosity. Jake felt the power of the crystal flowing through him, and he closed his eyes, channeling all his energy into breaking the curse. In that moment, he realized he was not just fighting for Lyra. He was fighting for a chance to unite their worlds and bring love and hope to both the Glacians and himself. The Awakening. Jake stood before the giant ice block, the cold air surrounding him like a thick mist. His heart raced as he pressed the glowing crystal against the smooth surface of the ice. He focused all his thoughts and feelings on Princess Lyra, hoping that love and hope would break the curse that held her captive. As he concentrated, the crystal began to shine brighter. A warm light spread from the point of contact, and the ice started to melt. Slowly, the edges of the block dripped with water, creating a soft, shimmering puddle on the floor. The warriors watched in awe, their fierce expressions softening as they witnessed the magic unfolding before them. "Keep going," Jake whispered to himself, feeling a surge of energy coursing through him. He thought of Lyra's beauty and the love he felt for her, even though they had never met. He believed in the stories of the Glacians and the power of true love to conquer all. As the ice continued to melt, Jake could see Lyra's face more clearly. Her delicate features began to appear, and a soft glow surrounded her. The air was filled with a warm light, and a gentle breeze seemed to whisper through the hall. Jake felt a deep connection to her, as if their souls were intertwined. Finally, with a loud crack, the ice block shattered, sending sparkling shards flying across the room. Jake shielded his eyes, and when he looked back, he could hardly believe what he saw. Standing before him was Princess Lyra, free from her icy prison. Lyra was even more beautiful than he had imagined. Her long hair flowed down her back like a waterfall, and her gown sparkled like stars in the night sky. Her eyes, bright and deep, looked around the room with wonder and confusion. For a moment, she stood still, taking in her surroundings, the reality of her freedom washing over her. "Lyra," Jake exclaimed, stepping forward, his heart filled with joy. "You're awake." At the sound of his voice, Lyra turned to him. A smile slowly spread across her face, lighting up the room. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice soft and melodic. "I'm Jake," he said, feeling warmth spread through him. "I came to save you. I heard your story, and I couldn't let you stay trapped in ice forever." Lyra looked at him, her expression changing from confusion to gratitude. "You did this for me?" she asked, her eyes wide. "You risked your life to come here and break the curse." "Yes," Jake replied, feeling a rush of emotion. "I believe everyone deserves a chance to be free and to love. You are the Princess of Glacia, and your people need you." Tears glistened in Lyra's eyes. "I cannot believe it," she said, her voice trembling. "I thought I would never see the light again. Thank you, Jake. Thank you for believing in me." The warriors, who had been watching quietly, exchanged surprised glances. They had expected to see a weak human, but instead, they saw a brave soul who had freed their princess. The leader of the warriors stepped forward, his voice steady but respectful. "You have done what we could not, human," he said. "You have awakened our princess. For this, you have our respect. We may have misjudged you." Jake nodded, grateful for the leader's words. "Thank you. I didn't come here to fight. I came to help." Lyra turned to the warriors, her voice strong. "I want to thank you, too. You have protected me all these years, even if it was out of fear. I am grateful for your loyalty." The warriors bowed their heads, acknowledging her words. They had long feared losing their princess to the unknown, but now they felt a glimmer of hope. "Now that you are free, what will you do?" one of the warriors asked, his eyes fixed on Lyra. "I want to learn about the world outside our ice," she said, glancing at Jake with a smile. "And I want to show my people that love can change everything." Jake's heart soared at her words. "Together, we can create a new future for both our worlds," he said, feeling a bond growing between them. Lyra took a step closer to Jake, her eyes shining with determination. Let's not waste any more time. I want to explore Glacia with you, and together, we can help our people. The warriors nodded in agreement, realizing that change was upon them. They had kept Lyra hidden for too long, and now it was time to embrace a new beginning. As they left the palace, Jake and Lyra walked side by side. The sun shone brightly over Glacia, illuminating the vast landscape of ice and snow. For the first time in years, the air felt warm and full of promise. Jake couldn't help but smile as he glanced at Lyra. She looked radiant, and he could see the hope in her eyes. He knew that their journey was just beginning, and together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The frozen princess had awakened, and a new adventure awaited them both, learning together. As Jake and Lyra stepped out of the ice palace, a bright sun shone down on Glacia. The snow-covered landscape sparkled like a field of diamonds, and the air felt fresh and clean. Jake looked at Lyra, her eyes filled with wonder, and felt a wave of happiness wash over him. They were free, and now it was time to explore the beautiful world of Glacia together. Where should we go first? Jake asked, excited to share this new world with Lyra. Lyra smiled, her face glowing with joy. I want to see the Crystal Forest. It is a magical place where the trees are made of ice and crystal. The sunlight shines through them, creating rainbows everywhere. Let's go, Jake replied, taking her hand. They walked side by side, and he felt a special connection growing between them. As they moved, Lyra pointed out different sights, sharing stories of her world. The Crystal Forest is very special to my people, Lyra explained. It is a place of peace and beauty. The trees grow tall and strong, and their branches sparkle in the sunlight. It is said that if you listen closely, you can hear the whispers of the ancient spirits who protect our land. Jake listened with fascination, imagining the forest filled with colorful lights and soft sounds. He could hardly wait to see it. As they walked, Lyra showed him how to navigate through the snow. She moved gracefully, her feet barely making a sound on the soft ground. Jake tried to mimic her steps, but stumbled a few times, causing them both to laugh. Be careful, Jake, Lyra teased, giggling as he brushed the snow off his coat. You have to feel the rhythm of the snow. It is like dancing. Jake smiled at her playfulness. I'll practice dancing in the snow, he said, determined to improve. As they continued, they encountered a group of Glacian children playing in the snow. They were building a snow fort and laughing as they tossed snowballs at each other. Look, Lyra said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Those are the children of Glacia. They are so full of joy. The children noticed Lyra and ran over, their faces filled with delight. Princess Lyra, they exclaimed, surrounding her. You're awake. We thought you were gone forever. Lyra knelt down to speak to them. I'm back, and I want to learn from all of you. Can you show me how to play in the snow? The children cheered and began teaching her how to make snowballs and build forts. Jake watched as Lyra laughed and played, her joy lighting up the snowy landscape. He felt a warmth in his heart, knowing he had helped bring her back to her people. After playing for a while, Lyra turned to Jake. Come on, you have to join us. She grabbed his hand and pulled him into the fun. Jake laughed, throwing a snowball at a nearby child, who squealed with delight. They spent the afternoon playing together, building snowmen, and enjoying each other's company. Jake felt like he belonged in this magical world. The Glacian children welcomed him, and he felt like part of their family. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the snow, Lyra called the children together. Thank you for teaching me how to play. I have missed so much. You are all amazing. The children clapped and cheered, their laughter ringing through the cold air. We're happy you're back, Princess, one of them shouted. Once the children left to return home, Jake and Lyra continued their journey to the Crystal Forest. As they approached, the trees began to emerge from the distance. They sparkled like jewels, reflecting the fading sunlight. The sight took Jake's breath away. "Wow," he said, unable to find the words. "It's beautiful." Lyra smiled proudly. "This is our treasure. It brings hope and happiness to my people. Let's go inside." They stepped into the forest, and the air felt different, calm and peaceful. The trees towered above them, their crystal branches creating a canopy of light. Jake looked up and saw colors dancing all around them. It felt like stepping into a dream. "Listen," Lyra whispered, holding his hand tightly. "Can you hear the whispers?" Jake closed his eyes and listened carefully. At first, all he heard was silence, but then softly he heard a gentle sound, like a breeze passing through the leaves. It felt like the forest was alive, sharing its secrets. "It's amazing," Jake said, opening his eyes. "It feels like the forest is welcoming us." Lyra nodded, her expression serious. "The spirits of Glacia protect this place. They guide us and remind us to be kind to nature. We must always care for our land." Jake looked around, taking in the beauty of the forest and the importance of what Lyra said. "I promise to help protect this place," he said earnestly. "Together, we can make sure it stays safe." Lyra beamed at him, her heart swelling with hope. "Thank you, Jake. With your help, we can create a future where both our worlds can learn from each other." As they explored the crystal forest together, Jake and Lyra knew their bond was growing stronger. They were not just learning about each other's worlds. They were building a friendship that would change everything. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows in the forest. But even in the dim light, Jake felt a spark of excitement for the adventures that lay ahead. They had much to learn from each other, and together they would face whatever challenges awaited them. A new danger. The days turned into weeks as Jake and Lyra explored the wonders of Glacia together. They played in the snow, learned about the ancient spirits of the crystal forest, and shared stories of their worlds. Their friendship grew deeper, filled with laughter and adventure. But soon, a shadow began to loom over their happiness. One cold morning, Jake and Lyra were walking through the village, enjoying the crisp air and the cheerful sounds of the Glacian people. They noticed that the usually bustling market felt quieter than usual. People whispered to each other with worried faces, and the vibrant colors of the market stalls seemed dim. "What's happening?" Jake asked, looking around. "Why does everyone seem so scared?" Lyra's expression turned serious. "I'm not sure, but something feels wrong. Let's find out." They approached an elderly Glacian named Elder Noric, who was known for his wisdom. He was speaking to a small group of villagers, his face lined with concern. When he saw Lyra, he smiled but quickly turned serious. "Princess Lyra," he said, bowing his head, "it is good to see you awake and well. But we have troubling news." "What is it, Elder?" Lyra asked, her heart sinking. "A dark force has appeared in the north," Elder Noric replied. "Creatures made of ice and shadows are attacking our villages. They come at night, stealing food and frightening our people." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What can we do to help?" he asked, determined to protect Lyra and her home. Elder Noric looked at Jake, surprised but pleased. "We must gather the warriors and prepare to defend our land. But we must be careful. These creatures are powerful and cunning." Lyra nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "We can't let fear take hold. We need to unite our people and fight back." As the elder gathered the warriors, Jake and Lyra joined them in the training yard. The warriors practiced with their ice spears and shields, their faces set with resolve. Lyra watched as they trained, her heart swelling with pride. She knew her people were strong, but they would need all the help they could get. "Jake, I want you to help us," she said, turning to him. "You have the spirit of a warrior, even if you don't have ice powers." Jake nodded, feeling honored. "I'll do whatever it takes. I may not have your abilities, but I can fight with courage." As the sun began to set, the villagers gathered for a meeting. Lyra stood at the front, her voice steady and strong. "My people, we face a great danger, but together we are stronger. We must protect our homes and our families." The crowd cheered, their spirits lifted by her words. Jake stood beside her, feeling a sense of belonging. They had come together as one, ready to face the unknown. That night, as darkness fell, the villagers kept watch. Jake felt a knot of fear in his stomach. They had trained, but would it be enough? He stood beside Lyra, who held his hand tightly. "Whatever happens, I'm glad to be here with you," he said softly. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with courage. "We will face this together, Jake. I believe in us." Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the night. The ground trembled, and the air grew cold. Jake's heart raced as he saw shadows moving in the distance. The dark creatures had arrived, their forms shifting like smoke and ice. "Get ready," a warrior shouted, raising his spear. The villagers took their positions, fear and determination written on their faces. As the creatures approached, Jake could see their glowing red eyes and jagged teeth. They were terrifying, and Jake felt fear creep into his heart. But he remembered Lyra's strength and the bond they shared. He couldn't let fear take over. The creatures charged, and the warriors met them with fierce cries. Jake stood beside Lyra, watching as the battle began. He grabbed a makeshift spear and ran toward the fray, adrenaline coursing through him. "Fight for our home," he shouted, feeling the spirit of bravery rise within him. He threw his spear at one of the creatures, hitting it in the side. It howled in pain but kept coming. Lyra fought beside him, her ice powers swirling around her. She created barriers of ice to protect their people, her movements graceful and powerful. "Stay close to me, Jake," she called out, her voice steady. Jake nodded, focusing on the fight. They were a team, and together they would defend Glacia. He dodged a creature's swipe and struck back, feeling the rush of battle. As the fight continued, Jake noticed that the creatures seemed to be getting stronger. They worked together, trying to separate the villagers and strike fear into their hearts. The warriors fought bravely, but the dark force was relentless. "Lyra!" Jake shouted as he saw one of the creatures aiming for her. He ran toward her, determination burning in his chest. He wouldn't let anything harm her. In that moment, Jake realized that their friendship was their greatest strength. Together, they could face any danger that came their way. As he reached Lyra, he felt a surge of hope. "Let's show them the power of love and friendship," he shouted, raising his spear high. With their hearts united, Jake and Lyra faced the darkness together, ready to protect their home and each other. The fight for love. The battle raged on in the heart of Glacia. Jake and Lyra fought side by side, their hearts beating in unison as they faced the dark creatures. The air was filled with the sounds of clashing ice and the roars of the shadowy beings. Jake felt a mix of fear and determination. He had to protect Lyra and her people. "Stay close," Lyra shouted, her voice strong despite the chaos. She created walls of ice to shield them from the advancing creatures. The icy barriers glowed softly, holding back the darkness for now. Jake nodded, gripping his spear tightly. He glanced around, seeing the warriors working together to push back the creatures. Each warrior fought bravely, but the dark force was relentless. The creatures seemed to multiply, striking fear into the hearts of the villagers. With a roar, one of the creatures lunged at them, its eyes glowing bright red. Jake raised his spear and thrust it forward, hitting the creature in its side. It howled in pain, but instead of retreating, it charged at him even more fiercely. "Jake," Lyra called, sensing the danger. She moved quickly, sending a blast of ice toward the creature. It froze in place, its body becoming a solid block of ice. "Good job, Lyra," Jake said, his heart racing. He admired her strength, realizing how much he relied on her. But as they fought, the number of creatures grew. More shadowy forms emerged from the darkness, surrounding the warriors. They were becoming overwhelmed. Jake felt a knot in his stomach. They had to find a way to turn the tide. "Lyra, we need to find their leader," Jake shouted, trying to make himself heard above the noise. "If we can defeat it, maybe the others will retreat." Lyra nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "You're right. Let's find the source of their power." Together, they pushed through the throng of warriors, moving toward the shadows. The creatures were fierce, but Jake and Lyra fought with everything they had. They were a team, and nothing could stop them as long as they stayed together. Suddenly, they spotted a larger creature in the distance. It towered over the others, its dark form swirling with shadows and ice. Its red eyes glared at them, full of malice. "You think you can defeat me?" it growled, its voice echoing in the air. Jake felt a shiver run down his spine, but he stood tall. "We will fight for our home," he shouted, finding strength in his words. Lyra raised her hands, focusing her energy. "We fight for love and for our people," she declared. The ice around her glimmered with power, and she formed a huge shield to protect Jake and the warriors behind them. The leader of the creatures roared, sending out a wave of dark energy. The ground shook beneath their feet, and Jake felt fear grip him. But he looked at Lyra, her face fierce with determination, and knew they had to keep fighting. Together, Jake yelled. They charged toward the creature, hearts filled with courage. Lyra summoned all her power, sending a blast of ice at the dark leader. The ice hit it, creating cracks in its shadowy form. Jake seized the moment and lunged forward, thrusting his spear at the creature. The spear struck true, piercing through the darkness. The creature howled, its form flickering, as if it was losing its strength. But it fought back fiercely, swiping at Jake with its claws. He barely dodged, feeling the wind from the creature's attack rush past him. He couldn't give up. He had to protect Lyra and their people. "Lyra, now," Jake shouted, knowing they had to finish this together. Lyra raised her arms high, calling forth the spirits of the crystal forest. "Spirits of Glacia, hear me," she cried. The ice around them began to shimmer, responding to her call. The air filled with a powerful energy as the spirits joined their fight. With a burst of light, a wave of ice shot toward the dark creature. It enveloped the leader, freezing it in place. The creature struggled, but it was trapped. "No, you cannot defeat me," it roared, but its voice grew weaker. Jake and Lyra pushed forward, their hearts pounding with hope. They could feel the power of their love and friendship resonating in the air. It was their strength against the darkness. "Now," Lyra shouted, focusing all her energy into one final blast. Jake raised his spear, feeling the power of their bond flowing through him. Together, they struck the frozen creature. The ice shattered, sending shards flying into the air. With a final cry, the dark creature collapsed, defeated. As it fell, the remaining creatures hesitated. They glanced at their fallen leader, fear replacing their aggression. One by one, they began to retreat, fading into the darkness from which they came. Cheers erupted from the warriors and villagers as they witnessed the defeat of the dark force. Jake and Lyra stood together, panting but victorious. They had fought for love, for each other, and for their home. "Thank you, Jake," Lyra said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "We did it together." Jake smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "We make a great team, Lyra. I couldn't have done it without you." The sun began to rise over Glacia, casting a warm light over the village. They had faced danger and emerged stronger, their love shining brighter than ever. Together, they would protect their home and continue their journey, ready for whatever came next. Feel free to let me know if you need any changes or further assistance. A bright future. The sun rose over Glacia, casting a warm golden light across the snow-covered landscape. Jake and Lyra stood together on a hill, looking down at the village. The air felt fresh and clean, and the sounds of laughter filled the valley. The dark creatures were gone, and peace had returned to their home. "Look at everyone celebrating," Lyra said, her eyes sparkling with joy. "They are so happy." Jake smiled, feeling a sense of pride swell within him. "We did it, Lyra. We fought for your people, and we won." They walked down the hill, hand in hand, ready to join the celebration. The villagers had gathered in the center of the village, creating a festival to honor their heroes. Colorful banners waved in the wind, and the scent of warm food filled the air. As they entered the village, the people cheered. "Princess Lyra, Jake, you saved us," they shouted, clapping their hands and dancing around them. Lyra blushed, feeling both happy and shy. "It was all of us together," she said, her voice warm. "We fought as one, and that made us strong." Elder Norik approached them, a proud smile on his face. "You both showed great courage," he said. "Because of you, our land is safe once again. You have earned our respect and love." Jake felt a wave of warmth at the elder's words. "Thank you, Elder Norik. But we couldn't have done it without everyone's help." The warriors fought bravely. "Yes," Lyra added, looking at the villagers. "We are a family. Together, we can face any challenge." The celebration continued, with music, dancing, and laughter filling the air. Villagers shared stories of their bravery, and everyone felt a sense of unity. Jake joined in the dancing, feeling lighter than ever. He had found a home here in Glacia. Later in the day, as the sun began to set, Lyra led Jake to a quiet spot near the edge of the village. They sat on a soft blanket of snow, watching the colors change in the sky. Shades of pink and orange painted the horizon, and the beauty of the moment took Jake's breath away. "Lyra, I've learned so much from you and your people," Jake said, his voice soft. "This place is incredible, and I feel so lucky to be here." Lyra turned to him, her eyes shining with happiness. "I feel the same way, Jake. You showed me the power of friendship and love. You made me believe in hope again." They sat in silence, enjoying the peaceful moment. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the cold air fill his lungs. "I want to help protect this world, Lyra. I want to learn everything I can about Glacia and its people." Lyra smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "You are already a part of Glacia, Jake. You belong here. Together, we can make a brighter future." As night fell, the stars began to twinkle in the clear sky. Lyra and Jake looked up, feeling a sense of wonder. "Do you think the spirits are watching over us?" Jake asked, his voice filled with hope. Lyra nodded, her face glowing in the starlight. "Yes, I believe they are. They are with us, guiding us as we move forward." Suddenly, a bright shooting star streaked across the sky. Jake pointed, excitement bubbling inside him. "Did you see that? It's a sign." Lyra laughed, her joy contagious. "It is a sign of good things to come." Inspired by the shooting star, they made a wish together. "Let our friendship grow strong," they said in unison. "Let Glacia be a place of peace and happiness." With their wish in the air, they felt a warm breeze sweep through the night. It was as if the spirits of Glacia were blessing them, filling their hearts with hope. As the celebration continued in the village, Jake and Lyra returned to join their friends. They danced and laughed, feeling the warmth of their community. The bond between them had grown deeper, and together, they felt unstoppable. Days turned into weeks, and life in Glacia flourished. The villagers rebuilt what was lost, their spirits strong. Jake helped with the rebuilding, learning from the Glacian people. He shared his own knowledge, bringing new ideas to the village. Lyra became a leader, guiding her people with wisdom and love. She worked hard to ensure that everyone felt safe and cared for. Together, they celebrated the beauty of their differences and learned from one another. One day, as they stood in the crystal forest, Lyra turned to Jake with a serious look. "I want to make our bond official," she said softly. "You have become my greatest friend, and I want to share my life with you." Jake's heart raced with joy. "I feel the same way, Lyra. I want to stand by your side forever." They exchanged vows of friendship, promising to support and protect each other. In that moment, they knew their bond was unbreakable. As seasons change, Glacia thrived under their guidance. The villagers lived in harmony, and the spirit of love and friendship filled the air. Jake and Lyra stood strong together, facing whatever challenges came their way. With the dark creatures gone and a bright future ahead, they looked to the horizon, ready to embrace the adventures that awaited them. Together, they would continue to fight for love, for each other, and for the world they cherished.